Everyone asks, how do I stop being triggered? But here's what a samurai asks instead. Why am I so determined to stay comfortable? You see, your triggers aren't attacking you. They're revealing something you've been avoiding. The warrior doesn't ask how to eliminate the opponent. He asks, what is this opponent teaching me about my own stance? For 300 years, my ancestors trained not to become fearless, but to become intimate with fear itself. Today you'll learn why running from your triggers is like running from your own shadow at noon. The faster you run, the more exhausting it becomes. But turn around, face it directly, and watch what happens. I want you to understand something right now, something that might shift everything you believe about healing. You've been taught that getting better means feeling calmer, lighter, less reactive. You've been told that if you're still getting triggered, you're doing something wrong, that you haven't healed enough, that you need more therapy, more meditation, more boundary setting. But what if I told you that this entire framework is backwards? What if the reason you're still suffering isn't because you get triggered, but because you believe being triggered means you're broken? This is what I want to give you today. Not another technique to manage your triggers, not another breathing exercise or visualization practice. Those have their place, but they're not the answer. What I'm offering you is something the samurai discovered centuries ago, something that neuroscience is only now beginning to understand. Your triggers aren't the problem. Your avoidance of them is. And every single time you run from what triggers you, you're making it stronger. You're teaching your nervous system that you cannot handle this feeling, this situation, this moment, and your body believes you. Most advice out there tells you to create safety, to establish boundaries, to remove toxic people and situations from your life. And yes, there's wisdom in that. But here's what they don't tell you. If you build your entire life around avoiding triggers, you haven't created safety. You've created a cage. A comfortable cage, maybe. A cage decorated with self-care routines and positive affirmations, but still a cage. And every year, the bars get a little closer together because avoidance doesn't maintain your current level of sensitivity, it increases it. The samurai knew something different. They knew that freedom doesn't come from control. It comes from capacity, from the ability to feel everything and still remain standing, to be hurt but not destroyed, to tremble and stay anyway. So let me take you somewhere. Let me take you to a monastery in the mountains during winter, where the cold bites through your robes and the wind carries the sound of a single bell. There was a young monk there, an apprentice, who came to study under a Zen master known for his harshness. This monk was talented, intelligent, devoted, but he had one problem. Every morning, the master would ring a bell to signal the start of meditation. And after meditation, if your practice had been distracted or lazy, the master would criticize you sharply in front of everyone. This young monk became terrified of that bell. Not just nervous, terrified, because he knew what could follow. At first, just hearing the bell made his stomach tighten. Then he started flinching at any sudden sound, the crack of wood in the fire, a door closing, even the rustle of robes. His whole body was on alert, waiting for the next moment of criticism, the next moment of shame. And so he started avoiding. He'd arrive late to meditation, missing the bell. He'd sit in the back where the master couldn't see him as clearly. Then he started skipping sessions altogether, claiming illness, claiming fatigue. One winter morning, the master came to his room. The young monk thought he was going to be expelled, sent home in disgrace. Instead, the master handed him the bell. the heavy bronze bell that had become the symbol of all his fear. The master said nothing, just gestured toward the meditation hall. And the young monk understood. He was to ring it. Not once, 100 times. Imagine that, facing the very thing that has paralyzed you, not briefly, but 100 times. The first 20 rings, his hands were shaking so badly he could barely hold the mallet. Every sound felt like it was tearing something open inside him. He wanted to run. He wanted to drop the bell and disappear into the forest. But something kept him there. Maybe pride, maybe desperation, maybe some small part of him that was curious about what might happen if he stayed. By ring 40, something strange started to occur. The terror was still there, but he began to notice space around it. He could feel his feet on the ground. He could hear the echo of the bell fading into the mountains. He wasn't just fear anymore. He was a person experiencing fear. Do you see the difference? It's everything. By ring 70, he was breathing normally. The bell was just a bell, a piece of metal making sound. And by ring 100, tears were streaming down his face, but he was laughing. Actually laughing. Because he suddenly understood what the master had been teaching him all along. The bell never changed. His relationship to it did. The thing that had controlled his entire life, that had made him small and scared and avoidant, lost its power the moment he stopped running from it. And this is what I need you to hear. The bell never had the power. He gave it the power by avoiding it. And every day he avoided it, the bell grew larger in his mind until it was everywhere, in every sound, in every moment of potential criticism. Now let me tell you about a different kind of courage, one that looks softer but requires just as much strength. There was a samurai in my lineage, a fierce warrior who had faced countless battles without hesitation. But he had a daughter who inherited something from him that he didn't know he had passed down. He inherited his sensitivity. His daughter was triggered by conflict, by any raised voice, by arguments or disagreements. Even at the dinner table, if two people began to debate something passionately, her heart would race and she'd have to leave the room. The samurai watched his daughter's world getting smaller and smaller. She stopped attending village gatherings. She avoided the market when it was crowded. She was isolating herself. And he recognized it because he'd done the same thing in a different way. He'd just called it discipline, focus, warrior's solitude. But it was the same thing. Fear dressed up as something else. So this samurai did something that seemed harsh to everyone around him. Instead of protecting his daughter from conflict, instead of keeping the home quiet and peaceful, he brought her to the village council meetings. These were gatherings where men argued loudly about resources, about boundaries, about justice. Voices were raised, fists pounded on tables. It was exactly the environment that sent her daughter into panic. The first time she lasted 3 minutes before running out. He didn't chase her. He didn't force her back. He just found her afterwards, sitting by the river, breathing hard, and he said, "Tomorrow, we try again." She looked at him with betrayal in her eyes, but she came back. Week after week, she came back. And here's what happened. The first week, 3 minutes. The second week, 5 minutes. By the third week, she stayed for 15 minutes before she needed to step out. But what's important isn't the time. It's what was happening inside her. She was discovering that she could hold intensity without shattering. That discomfort was not the same as danger. That her racing heart didn't mean she was dying. That she could feel triggered and still remain. And within a year, she wasn't just attending the council meetings, she was mediating them. This young woman who couldn't handle a raised voice became the person everyone turned to when conflicts needed resolution. Because she'd learned something most people never learn: how to stay present in the fire.
These two stories, the monk and the bell, the daughter and the council room, they're showing you the same truth from different angles. Avoidance teaches your nervous system that you cannot handle discomfort. But exposure, done gradually, done with intention, teaches your nervous system something completely different. It teaches you that you're stronger than you know.
Let me explain what's actually happening in your brain when you avoid a trigger. Your amygdala, that's your fear center, it's ancient. It evolved to keep you alive when threats were physical and immediate, a lion in the grass, a snake on the path. And it did its job beautifully. See threat, feel fear, run away, survive. But here's the problem. Your amygdala cannot tell the difference between a lion and your mother's criticism, between a physical threat and an emotional one, between danger and discomfort. So when you avoid that difficult conversation, when you leave the room when certain topics come up, when you block that person or dodge that situation, your amygdala marks it down as confirmed threat. You ran, therefore it was dangerous. And next time, your fear response will be even stronger because your brain is trying to protect you. It's doing exactly what it evolved to do, but it's protecting you from the wrong things. And this is where most people get stuck. They think the answer is to manage the triggers, to calm themselves down, to breathe through it. And yes, those tools help in the moment, but they don't solve the underlying problem. The underlying problem is that you're still treating discomfort as danger. You're still operating from a nervous system that believes feeling triggered means you're under attack. The samurai understood something modern psychology is only now confirming. They had this practice called killing the monkey mind. You'd sit in meditation, and at random moments, someone behind you would strike a gong right near your head, loud, sudden, terrifying at first. The whole point was to train your system to distinguish between surprise and threat, between discomfort and actual danger. And here's what they discovered. After enough exposures, the gong stops being a threat. It's just a sound. A loud sound that startles you, yes, but you don't spiral, you don't collapse. You feel it and you remain. This is what neuroscience now calls habituation. When you face a trigger repeatedly in a context where you're actually safe, your amygdala learns. It updates its threat assessment. It realizes, I'm feeling this, but I'm not dying. I'm uncomfortable, but I'm not in danger. And slowly, the trigger loses its power over you. Not because the trigger changed, but because your relationship to discomfort changed. And I need you to understand this deeply. You're not trying to eliminate triggers. You're not trying to reach some enlightened state where nothing bothers you. That's not the goal. The goal is to upgrade your relationship with discomfort, to expand your capacity to feel things without needing to run from them. There's this moment that happens in every exposure. And if you've ever tried to face something that scares you, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's this moment where every cell in your body is screaming at you to leave. Your hands start shaking, your breath gets short, your mind is offering you every reason why you should exit right now. This email can wait. This conversation can happen another time. You need to use the bathroom. You need to check your phone. You need to be literally anywhere but here. This moment, this is where most people run. And I understand why. It feels unbearable. But I'm going to tell you something that might change your life. This moment right here, this is where transformation lives. The samurai called it meeting your edge. Not pushing past it recklessly, not forcing yourself beyond what you can hold, but touching it, breathing there, staying for just one more moment than feels comfortable. Because on the other side of that moment is a version of you that you've been searching for. A version of you that can be hurt but not destroyed, that can feel everything and still choose love, that can tremble and stay anyway. So how do you actually do this without re-traumatizing yourself? Because that's a real concern. Exposure done wrong can make things worse, but exposure done with awareness, done gradually, done with self-compassion, this is how you reclaim your life. Start by naming your 3 core triggers. And I mean really naming them, not vague categories like confrontation or abandonment. Be specific.
What exactly happens that makes you want to flee? Is it a certain tone of voice? The feeling of being ignored in a group? Someone saying they're disappointed in you? Write these down, because you can't face what you can't name. Then rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. How intense is each trigger? And here's the key. Start with a 4 or 5, not a 10. Don't go into your most traumatic trigger and try to white-knuckle through it. That's not courage. That's self-harm. The samurai didn't hand a novice a real sword on day 1. They started with wooden practice swords. Same principle here. Once you've identified a moderate trigger, create micro-exposures. Small, manageable doses of the thing that makes you uncomfortable. If your trigger is criticism, don't start by asking your harshest critic for feedback. Start by reading a mildly critical comment online and breathing through the sensation. If it's rejection, practice in low-stakes situations. Ask a stranger for directions in a slightly awkward way. Get used to the feeling of minor discomfort in contexts where the stakes are small. And here's the most important part. When you feel triggered, stay 60 seconds longer than comfortable. Just 60 seconds, not an hour, not until you fully processed everything. Just 1 more minute. Because that minute is where the rewiring happens. In that minute, you're teaching your nervous system, I can feel this and survive. I can be uncomfortable and remain whole. After the exposure, and this is crucial, don't analyze while you're triggered, but afterward, take some time to reflect. Journal about it. What did you notice? Where did you feel it in your body? Did staying harm you? Or did it prove you could handle more than you thought? This reflection builds conscious awareness of your growing capacity. And your capacity will grow. I promise you this. Not in a straight line. Some days will feel like regression. Some triggers will come back strong, even after you thought you'd mastered them. But over time, week by week, month by month, you'll notice something shifting. The things that used to send you spiraling will start to feel manageable. Not easy, not comfortable, but manageable. You'll have a conversation you used to avoid and realize halfway through that you're not planning your escape, you're actually present. Someone will say something that used to devastate you, and you'll feel it, fully feel it, but you won't shatter. You'll take a breath, and you'll respond from a place of groundedness instead of panic. And in that moment, you'll understand what I'm telling you now, that you were never as fragile as you believed. You were just never taught how to hold your own intensity. The samurai didn't become fearless. They became fearful, full of fear and yet still present, still standing, still choosing the harder, truer path. And this is what I'm inviting you into. Not a life without triggers, but a life where triggers no longer control you. You started this video believing triggers were problems to solve, obstacles to overcome, signs that you haven't healed enough. But now I hope you're seeing them differently. They're doorways, invitations, opportunities to reclaim territory in your own life. Every time you face what you've been avoiding, every time you stay when you want to run, you're not just surviving, you're becoming more whole.
So here's what I want you to take with you. Here's the truth I want you to remember when you're in that moment of wanting to flee. Say this to yourself. I am not broken because I feel triggered. I am powerful because I can face what triggers me and remain whole. Say it now. Say it until your body believes it. Because it's true. You are not broken. You've just been misled into thinking that discomfort equals danger, that being triggered means you're failing. This work isn't easy. I won't lie to you and say it is, but neither is living in a cage you built to protect yourself. At some point, you have to ask yourself, what kind of life do I actually want? One that's safe but small, where I'm constantly managing my environment, controlling my relationships, avoiding anything that might make me feel something difficult? Or do I want a life that's big enough to hold everything? The joy and the pain, the love and the fear, the triggers and the courage. The samurai made their choice. They chose the path of facing what scared them, of meeting their edge over and over until their edge expanded. And now you get to make your choice. No one can make it for you. But I can tell you this, on the other side of your triggers is the life you've been longing for. A life where you're not constantly afraid of your own feelings, where you can show up fully, vulnerably, authentically, because you know you can handle whatever arises. If something shifted in you while watching this, if something landed,
I want to hear about it. Share one trigger you're ready to face in the comments below. Not to perform for anyone else, not to prove anything, but to make it real, to say it out loud, to take that first step of naming what you've been avoiding. And if this perspective helped you, if it gave you something you needed, consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel, because we're going deeper into the way of the warrior in future videos, into what it means to live with courage, with presence, with an open heart in a world that constantly asks us to close down. Until then, remember this: face your fear, feel it fully. Don't run from it, don't suppress it, don't try to think your way out of it, just feel it. And watch what happens. Watch yourself discover that you're stronger than you knew, that you can hold more than you imagined, that you are not your triggers. You are the one who faces them. Go forward with courage, my friend. The path is waiting for you.